that we're going to be doing on September 16th, which is the actual Worthy of Wealth online conference. And so, yeah, we would like to ask you all if you know of any college-aged adults that need this information. Please, share this information with them. If you want more information about this event, you can follow me on Black Money Matters Act Like It. Also, you can follow ADC_life coaching for more information as well. And so, just be sure to tap in with that as well, so that we can get as many of these young folks on and hear, what it is that they are supposed to, get, for their future. All right. So, we will be having our Worthy of Wealth event on the 16th. And so the time is 11:30 a.m. All right. So it's an early virtual event. It will be on Zoom. So follow me at JGOT. So JAI_GOT_SOUL. Or if you want more information, you can email me at JAIloves14@gmail.com for more details. All right. So, lastly, if you are a business professional and you're looking for a marketing medium, you can consider our show for that marketing medium, to have an ad space on this show. We have changed up this platform a bit, because we want to really get into the money topic, as I am the founder of Black Money Matters Act Like It. So yeah, we want to offer this space for business professionals to utilize and share what they have to offer during some ad space, as well as artists. If you would like to submit your music on our platform, you can reach out to me on my Instagram. Again, that is JAI_GOT_SOUL. And you can also email me at jloves14.com. All right, so let's collaborate, let's grow with one another, and that's one way we can do that. All right, so our guest has not come in yet. He has, like I said, he has been experiencing some traffic. He's actually walking in right now. So but yeah, so as promised, we will be talking about money, all right, and how to protect it. And so as our guest walks in, what's going on? Right here, come through. Maxmillion Barnes is a licensed financial professional, all right, and he has years of experience in establishing millions of dollars in assets and protections for middle America through efficient strategies. All right, so he aspires to introduce younger generations to the industry and help them realize their potential to build their own financial path. All right, so today we're gonna find out how he helps so many folks establish millions in assets and protection. So out of the box family, help me welcome our guest Maxmillion Barnes to the studio once again.
What's going on? How everybody doing?
Yes.
Thank you for having me again.
Of course. We got to talk about this money.
Yes.
So Max, let's get to the money and let's talk about the next generation group. Mm-hmm. All right. So tell us about this company that you founded and what is your mission?
Right. So the Next Generation Group was mainly a opportunity, or initially it started more so as an initiative. To be able to give free financial information. A lot of the information I learned over the years, several years of being in the financial services space, just kind of taking a lot of that information and being able to give it in a more digestible, smaller bite portions, to people that were a little bit younger. My generation is millennial generation, so just kind of taking a little bit more complicated financial information and making it more relatable to us, overall. And of course, kind of giving it to us from somebody that is us, is really the initial standpoint, and now I feel like it's grown to so much more than that, and continues to evolve and continue to now kind of take it to the next level by bringing more resources to our age group as it relates to not even just finances but just business in general, because obviously we have so many different type of industries we want to break into, so that's basically what that is all about.
Okay, so when we're talking about like more complicated ideas, one of those ideas that a lot of us haven't really heard about is annuities. So question is, what is annuities?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's so many different financial instruments out there. I like to call it a tool more so. Some people call it an investment or a financial plan, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it a tool or instrument. But basically, an annuity is a really, really awesome way to make sure that you don't run out of your money. Or that you don't outlive your money. So essentially, it's a contract that you may have with an insurance company, and maybe you put so much money into it, and in return you receive X amount of payments for the rest of your life, right? So it's a huge potential of guaranteed income for yourself, and so that is a really awesome tool, especially for your listeners out there who are closer to retirement age, and their biggest worry, their biggest concern is to preserve what they have, preserve what they work so hard for, and making sure that they don't outlive it. So an annuity can be a really high potential type of account that a person can look at, especially as they get closer to that age of no longer working for money.
Okay. So how are these vehicles helping people build wealth?
Absolutely. So they are helping people build wealth by having some insurance, I like to say, like some guarantees, because that G word, guarantee, you don't really get to hear that too often,
right?
Especially as it relates to people's money,
right?
And so like I said before, a lot of America's biggest concern is outliving their money, and in terms of utilizing it and leveraging it to be able to build wealth, there's a lot of annuity tools out there that allow for you that maybe you don't use all of your money while you're living, so it allows for you to pass down money to the next generation, or you can have multiple owners of that contract, and maybe the husband moves on to the next life, and the wife takes the remainder of the income for the rest of her life. So it allows for people to make sure that, okay, we're gonna have money no matter what, and it gives them opportunity to even take that money and spread it out a little bit further, and to teach their children, hey, this is what I did to reassure my money and make sure everything is locked up properly, essentially, and here's how you can pass it down, the information, to the next generation, and say, hey, this is a great tool, a great vehicle for us to make sure that at least every single month we know that mailbox money is coming, because we've set it up in such a way where it does so. So that's a great way, I think, that a lot of people can have some guarantees, be able to pass money down almost seamlessly to their family members or whoever they would like to pass that money down to, as long as they teach them, of course, what it is, how it works, so that they can do the same thing for their family.
Right. Okay. So as you know, I'm learning a lot about these vehicles myself, and we've been spending a lot of time just on calls and just me really digesting all this information myself to be able to share it to people. And so one of the things that has definitely been very interesting to me is like the taxes on a lot of these vehicles and how they work, to help folks, be able to build that wealth. And so the question is to break down the tax now, tax deferred, and the tax free portion of these vehicles and how that works.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and it's a lot to it, honestly. But, typically for those of you listening in, when you look at putting your money places, I like to call it an enemy to our money, which is taxes. Right now, I have to go on the record and say, I'm not a tax advisor, of course, and I'm not a CPA, so I'm not giving you guys legal tax advice or anything like that. However, it is important to understand how our money is typically taxed, right, based on where we put it. And I like to call it an enemy taxes can be a big enemy to a lot of people's money, meaning that, let's say, you work income, right? You pay your taxes that way on your income. You take that money and you invest it somewhere, and that money grows, and you pay taxes again. So that's a couple times you pay taxes on that, essentially that stream of income there, and that would be considered like tax now, upfront taxes that you're paying, as earned taxes that you're paying, essentially. And then we have what you talked about, deferring your money, which is a very popular type of way that a lot of people save their money, whereas tax deferred account would be something like a 401k.
Okay.
That's what, most people work a job, right, of some kind. That's typically what they're going to have. And that money is going to be taxed later on, or tax deferred. Okay. Well, one thing I always like to help my clients understand is that, well, we don't have a crystal ball. We're not God. We don't know 20 years from now what the tax rate is going to be. So we're potentially looking at losing a lot of money within our 401ks later on, to taxes. So if I got 500 grand, say I'm 30 years old today, I have 500 grand in my 401k, and I plan on retiring at 60 years old, right? Or legally, technically, they have a rule where you can touch the money, 59 and a half rule. That's what they call it, 59 and a half, age 72 rule. And what that means is you can't access the money without penalty, I should say. Right? And there's some loopholes with that, but you can't, essentially, overall, you can't access it without penalty until the age of 59 and a half, and then they're going to force you to take RMDs, which is the required minimum distribution at age 72. Right. And so, definitely got to do that. And so with that being said, there's another component, which is vehicles like a Roth IRA or like cash value life insurance, what we talked about before, where you can accumulate money and be able to take it out tax free, which is pretty awesome, or tax advantage. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any examples of clients that you've had that received an annuity and they were able to utilize the annuity while they were living, or it helped them in some capacity?
Yeah, absolutely. I recently, actually, it's funny, I had a client, we opened up an annuity account for them maybe 2 years ago, I want to say, and there's a certain amount that immediately she had available to her, and she simply wanted to use that money to work on her house. Well, her retirement, everything else overall financially, she was set. She was put together, and we looked at it, we evaluated. She said, "Hey Max, I'm thinking about doing this to my house, and doing these renovations." And I said, "Okay, well, let's sit down again and let's look at where you're at financially." And it made sense for her to access the money, and she was able to access the money, no penalties or anything like that. And she was happy, and she's currently working on investing that money into her home, and making it the home that she wants to have it in her retirement years, now that she's officially retired as well. But absolutely, that would be a great example of a person who only had it for 2 years, right? And have access to the money, certain amount of the funds with no penalty free there, and she was able to kind of do what she wanted to do, and there's still a substantial amount of money left in there, so that when she's ready to go ahead and start to take her monthly payments for the rest of her life, that is available to her.
So that was a retirement account?
Correct.
Okay. And so she had to put a certain amount in to be able to receive that amount in that 2 years, correct?
For that particular account, the minimum technically is $10,000.
Okay.
But she's put a few $100,000 in that particular account, and so it's still growing interest and all of that, which is great. But at the same time, she has that protection, against the downsides of what the economy could potentially do.
So it kind of sounds like the higher the investment, the more return you kind of get.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think that goes for anything. The more you put into it, the more you get out of it. Right? That's kind of, I know, super cliche, but it's kind of funny, but that is how it works.
Right.
In life, the more you put away. I had a conversation with a client yesterday, and we were talking about putting more and more money away and lowering the amount she wanted to save, and we were kind of looking at, okay, if you save this much money, this is how much you'll have, versus if you save this much money, this is how much you'll have. And it was maybe a $100 difference or $150 difference, but the returns 20 years from now would have been $300,000 difference. So that's huge, and so for many of us, we look at it as, well, it's okay. I could save $100 less, and I'm comfortable with that. But long term, you miss out on, which is something I know we also are going to want to talk about. But you miss out on those great compounding interest that you can get, on your money. So yeah, I'm not saying everybody has to have $500,000 to put in an annuity, but definitely if you have money, that is certainly a great option, I would say, for anybody to look at and speak with a licensed professional about how that works.
What I love about insurance is that the goal is to transfer the risk, and you're paying money so you can have more money. And so it's like, it's a no-brainer, but the unfortunate part is that we've only been sold life insurance from a death standpoint. So that's why we're having this conversation about annuities, because these are options that we could utilize.
Absolutely.
And a lot of us just don't have the information, and so it's really awesome to have these conversations so that we can open people's minds to these new ways of looking at money. So question, how many streams of income would you say it takes to one would need to become wealthy? And I know that can vary for every person, but that's just something that want us to think about, like how many streams of income right now will we need. So what's your best thought?
It's all relative to where you are in this crazy economy. At minimum, we're probably looking at 2 to 3 income streams at best, as far as creating wealth and being wealthy. Probably 5 to 7 legit great income streams. And I get it, wealth is kind of relative. My definition of wealth is really where you are in that financial space where you are not worried about paying for any bills. You have freedom of time, freedom of money, and you have a lot to be able to pass down knowledge wise and financial assets wise to your heirs as well. To me, that's what wealth is. It's really more so about what can you pass down when you look at wealth. Rich, I that's cute, but I know we all strive to be a little bit more than just rich and being able to have nice cars and stuff like that, but we want to be able to pass down generations of businesses and corporations and a long list of things like that to our family members. So I would say definitely 2 to 3 at a minimum, but the goal is 5 to 7 certainly. And I know people listening to this may say, well, that's, how do we even get that accomplished? I'm sure that's the first thing that popped in their head.
Right.
Well, it always starts somewhere. I mean, if you look at our grandparents and those that are generations that came before us, they had multiple streams of income in a lot of ways. They had multiple hustles, and they worked multiple jobs, right? And so what they did is very simple formula. They took their first stream of income, sacrifice a little bit, and when I say sacrifice, instead of buying the fancy cars or eating at the high-end restaurants all the time, they lived below their means. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just that simple. And they took that one income stream, invested it into another, stayed humbled, stayed consistent with their normal lifestyle, nothing more, nothing less. Took that income stream and turned it into something else. And when you look at it, our grandparents were able to give their children, our parents, properties when they got older and businesses, and they had options, I should say, whereas it kind of got lost in translation, I think, down the road.
And that's real, because I remember when I was working full-time, what I decided to do was I started Black Money Matters Act Like It, but it wasn't even Black Money Matters Act Like It at the time.
Okay.
It was the Assets Over Liabilities campaign.
Oh, nice.
And so, I started selling t-shirts. So that was how I was investing into another stream.
There you go.
And then from there, I started investing in stock.
That's exactly.
Now, had I known about annuities, I probably would have had an annuity as opposed to a stock first, right? And so that probably would have grew over that 5-year period. Probably could have utilized that to, create another one and then left my job.
Right.
So, just like being able to learn how these things happen and how I could have done something different, but having that background now, I understand, like, okay, well, if I do it this time, I'll do it this way.
Right.
So it's very important to look at that. Like, a lot of people think, oh, I have a job, I'm good. And it's like, one job is not gonna get you that far in terms of like how inflation is working on us. So
yeah, unfortunately. Right. You're right.
So my next question is, how can someone add a stream through the financial services industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, as we were talking about, or Jessica's doing an amazing introduction of me, I am a licensed life insurance and annuity financial professional, and so I do a lot of things financial, but that is my main focus and my main realm that I am licensed in. I have a huge passion for, and it's just as simple as getting into real estate, or becoming a CPA or a tax preparer, and going through those processes of getting properly licensed, of course, and then you can take your license once you get licensed through the state that you live in, right? You're able to work with different companies on their behalfs. You're able to essentially kind of broker for different insurance companies, because insurance companies are the companies that you would get an annuity through, or even life insurance. Of course, we probably obviously know that one, but annuities, that's something that is offered through an insurance company. And so you definitely want to find a great solid company to work with. However, if you're brand new, like how I was several years ago, how would you even know if this company is good to work with or not? Well, that's where having a person you trust and having a mentor of some kind goes a very long way in terms of educating you on what to look out for. And often, I would even suggest looking for mentors that are in no way, shape, or form financially connected to you, who are established, and are who actually genuinely care that you make a more sound decision for you. But just to talk about the possibilities, it's a huge industry that across the entire world, it's a huge component to a person's financial portfolio. And you look at the wealthy, the uber rich, whatever you want to call them, a lot of those people have annuities within their financial portfolio, because there's a balance there. You got to have your risk, but you also got to have your more conservative, some guarantees there as well. And that's where that lies in. And so I'm more so specialized, and my license allows for me to deal with more fixed accounts. So that's where the guarantees come in, a little bit more conservative for the person who still wants to get some high potential gains, but most importantly, they want to make sure that the money that they have plus interest, that their principal and interest is protected, and there for them, especially when they're going to need it the most. So it's a broad industry. It's a lot that you can, different niches. There's different audiences you can, find your niche in. Maybe you only deal with clients that are 60 to 70 years old, or maybe you only deal with clients that are 25 to 45 years old, or maybe everybody else in between. It's so much money in this business, because when you're in a business where money is always being exchanged, somebody is getting paid. And so why not you?
Right.
I would love to see more people that look like us involved in these kind of industries, because of course we all want to get into real estate and stocks, but there's other ways as well in finances. There's other places people put money that they need to be properly educated on just as much.
I love to talk about the risk, like the risk of certain tools. Like with real estate, there's a lot of risk in that. With stock, there's a lot of risk in that. And so in this industry, it's actually designed to eliminate risk and loss, and so it's like we're trying to ensure that people have money, so that I think that's an amazing part. But I want you to share the story of Walt Disney for the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a story that I didn't make up, or this is something you could Google and read about. Okay, so it's not something I kind of drew up in my backpack, and pulled it out and presented it to close deals with clients. No, this is something that's real that I read about, and so in my research coming into this insurance industry as a whole, dealing with annuities, dealing with life insurance, stuff like that, I came across this amazing story of Walt Disney utilizing life insurance, specifically cash value life insurance, to pull money out of that particular account or that plan to fund his biggest dream in his life, and that was Disneyland, or what we know it today as Disneyland. And so the amazing part to that story is that, of course, somebody had educated him on it. That's how he knew about it. So they started putting money away into that particular plan. It accumulated enough interest to where he had enough money to be able to access and go ahead and fund his goal and his dream. But the amazing part is that nobody died. Nobody got sick. In order for him to be able to have, access that six-figure sum of money that he was able to access and be able to fund his dream and goal. So even taking it a step further, Google that. Don't just listen to me or listen to what Jessica said. Google it, read about it for yourself, and think about how you can use that same exact unorthodox financing strategy. I'll call it like a creative financing strategy to accomplish whatever financially you're trying to accomplish right now. So in the next 2 years, all of us want to accomplish something, whether it's buying a home or starting a business or investing into whatever you want to invest into, but maybe you don't have all the capital right now. But you could put a little bit of money away, right? Over time, get some interest and be able to do exactly what Walt Disney did.
Yeah. Okay, so what he did was he pulled a living benefit. Is that what that was called, or no?
No, that's a really good question. Because there is, some people get that a little bit confused. So the living benefits component, which we can talk about as well, but that is a separate component from the actual cash accumulation. So the way cash value policies are designed are for you to overfund it, right, and put more money into that particular type of account so that it's growing at an interest rate. Let's say it's growing at an 8% compounding interest rate. Well, if your money, you're overfunding it, you have the money that's growing at 8% or more, compounding interest rate, where at a certain point in time of that plan, it makes sense for you to go ahead and access that money, right, and be able to take that money and do whatever it is that you want to do. Right now, the other side to which you said was about the living benefit. And so the living benefit is more so around a person having access to the life insurance death benefit, a percentage of that policy while they are living, in case they had gotten cancer, heart attack, stroke, the list just goes on, and it allows for you to receive a percentage of that death benefit to utilize while you're living, to be able to take care of pretty much all the expenses our health insurance may not take care of, like our rent, our mortgage, our car note, our gas bill, our kids maybe in private school, so you're planning for your kids to private school, but if you got cancer, it's kind of hard to work and make money. Right? It's a little difficult. Yeah, exactly. It's a little difficult. So that's a huge component. I would think huge part to life insurance now that is not known about, I would say.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Absolutely.
That was helpful. Why is the financial services industry one that creates the most millionaires, would you say?
That's a great question. I think recently, over the last year or so, we've been asking Siri, what industry creates the most millionaires, and the financial services space pops up at number one, right? And the reason I believe that's what it is because it does cover 4 different places, right? It covers the banking industry, it covers the real estate industry, it covers the insurance industry, it covers the stock market industry as well. And so people are exchanging money every single day, all day. Right? All types of transactions are taking place, right? And if you look at all those 4 places people put money, we all need it. And so, for example, if you can provide that need to people, voila, you've created wealth for yourself and for your family, right? If you could provide shelter, a home, you know, for in regards to real estate, right? That's a great way to establish wealth for yourself, for your family, right? If, you know, you want to invest in stocks, which basically stocks allows for you to have ownership within a company, right? Which I don't know if a lot of people really understand. I know we want to buy stocks, but I don't know if they understand what exactly you're buying. You know, you're buying into a company. So at a certain point, you know, you literally have ownership within that particular company. So as they are making returns, you are benefiting, you know, financially from something like that. You know, another industry that's awesome, that's great. In the banking industry, the banking industry is all about lending money, right? And lending money at an interest rate. So boom, they're making money on top of that. Boom. So there you go. I mean, how many people need to borrow money?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For everything.
Yep.
You know, you could borrow money to buy a computer in today's world. I mean, it's literally everything. I mean, these microphones we use, there's financing options,
Right.
you know,
Right.
to fund it. I mean, the microphone may cost $1,200, but you know, you don't have to have $1,200.
Right.
You know, so people are making money off of that. Right? And then you got the insurance industry, right? People are, you know, just to kind of take it back old school, we know death and taxes are promised to us.
Right.
So people are dying every single day, you know, unfortunately, but that's the reality of what we live into, right? Our physical form, we're not here for forever. So, you know, you need insurance to cover you, you know, so boom, that's another huge opportunity to make money. And so when you combine all of those worlds together, all of those go under the financial services umbrella. And you know, I believe that's why, because there's such a huge need for all 4 of those places or 4 of those industries. I would say all of that is up there with water. You know, and when you have any business, any industry that is up there with water that people need to survive, it's probably a business that you could potentially build some wealth with.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's get back to the next generation group.
Yeah.
I remember our last conversation. You said you wanted to change the face of the insurance industry.
Yes.
So how is the next generation group going to change the face of this industry?
That's a really, really good question, and I absolutely have a huge passion to change what the financial services space, more specifically what the insurance industry looks like. Right? Typically when you hear insurance, right, you hear insurance advisor, you hear insurance agent, or you know, you hear about the industry. What do you think? You think 59-year-old white male. Same thing with financial advisor or a wealth manager. You think 59, 60-year-old white male, been in the business for 30 plus years, you know, and they just, I'm gonna tell you how to manage your money, you know, like that kind of, you don't really, when you think of the industry, you don't think about us. And so me coming into the industry at 21 years old, I realized that there wasn't a lot of people that looked like me, for one. There wasn't a lot of people that also didn't look like my age, which they weren't. There was such a big gap age-wise, definitely. And so that made me feel like I have the opportunity to use that platform with the next generation group to do exactly what you do, Jessica, and expose, bring awareness to a different way for us to build wealth while we are here, not necessarily while we're gone. Because I also think too, people associate wealth with death. A lot, I would say. When they think wealth, they think, okay, like I'm thinking about my next generation before I'm even figuring out how I'm gonna get money here on earth, right? While I'm here. No, you can create wealth while you're here. And you know, if you're providing a good service to people, and you're honest, you got morals, you got ethics, you know, you have a backbone, I would like to say, and you actually care about people, there's endless amounts of money in an industry like that. And you know, the way we are changing people, or I'm sorry, changing the face of the industry, is just by exposing us to it first and foremost, and saying, hey, the insurance industry can be sexy. It can be sexy like real estate. You know, it can be sexy like being a stockbroker. You know, I get it. There's more movies about real estate. There's more movies about, you know, stocks, right? And like Wolf of Wall Street is one of my favorite movies.
I was just thinking of
that. Right? And it glorifies that, right?
Yeah.
But there's so many other components to it. And so we don't have to be, you know, athletes or entertainers and rappers and musicians. Not to say that's a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. But if that's what we all aspire to be, then, you know, how can we truly build wealth for not even just our families, but for our people in general, if all we're doing is entertaining the world and not controlling how money moves? You know, so that's what I want our people to understand, that we can control money by coming into industries like this and taking this information, bringing it back to our folks and helping them, you know, take advantage of these group economic strategies that a lot of other people have been using for generations and generations now. Yeah.
You know, you mentioned like artists, you mentioned, you know, athletes and things like that, and one of my passions, because I'm a creative at heart, you know, but also I understand that being a creative don't necessarily come with a lot of money, you know, and so part of what I want to do is tap into those athletes, tap into those artists who don't seem to understand the money side of things. Like, a lot of artists are looking to get a deal. A lot of those deals have an insurance policy within them, but they are not the beneficiary, or they're not the policy owner.
Let's talk about it.
You know, and so you see a lot of these young artists, they sign these deals and then they end up, you know, dead in a couple years. You got to think about that. Like, there was probably a insurance policy. Somebody got paid, not them, not their family. And so that's another educational piece that, you know, with Black Money Matters Act Like It, and with the Next Generation group, like, I can see us really tapping into those markets and just kind of getting them to wake up to that and protect themselves.
I definitely want to tap more into the entertainment market, you know, in particular athletes as well that look like us, and entertainers that look like us, musicians, artists, everybody, because, you know, I can understand, you know, a little bit of how a creative can think, because I had a clothing brand, you know, I had a clothing company, you know, which I still do, where we manufacture clothes for a lot of people. However, you more so want to focus on the creative aspect of things, and I don't really see anything wrong with that. You know, I think that's fair. Everybody has their niche, everybody has what they're passionate about as well. But like you said, we have to be aware of how to properly communicate when it comes down to money. And I think it all stems from us not having a good relationship. I say this all the time, but not having a good relationship with money. And so, you know, I always think about it like this. You know, we look at our athletes, and they've worked so hard their whole lives, put their head down in the sand and just grind. And they get to a certain point where literally once they sign that dotted line, there's $30 million wired to their bank account that same week, right? And we forget that these are young men and women who come from some tough and rough backgrounds. And we automatically assume that they're supposed to know how to handle $30 million overnight. When you go back 2 generations and you add all the money up that has passed through their family's hand, none of them have even come close to $1 million or $10 million or $15 million, let alone $30+ million. That's a signing bonus, right? That's not the full contract, you know. So when you think about that, you know, it's a big task ahead of us, so that we can help our folks understand how to have a better relationship with money, so that they can handle it better in those kind of realms, because life comes at you fast. You know, I do have a couple clients that are athletes and also in the entertainment world, and we talk about it all the time, just how quick those industries move. And if you're not ready, it will definitely swallow you up. And, you know, your career is actually very short, relatively, right? Speaking, it's very short. You know, 6 years, 10 years as an athlete, if you even make it to 10 years as an athlete, you get all this money, but you're supposed to have $70 million last you for the rest of your life. But if you're used to your only way of making money, you're used to making $70 million in a 4-year time span, you think it comes like that for the rest of your life, but it doesn't.
Right.
So if you don't understand how to manage that and how to, preserve it, most importantly, and leverage it into other aspects of your life, then we can be in a rough second half of your life, and you're 40 years old, 35 years old, which that's considered old for an athlete, right?
Right.
You're 35, 40 years old, and you've ran through all of your money, and now your career is at an end, and it's like, where am I going to get another $50 and $100 million from?
Right.
It gets a little scary.
Yeah. So why would you say like annuities is important for Black families to be able to build that wealth and really close that wealth gap, essentially?
I think an annuity in regards to that for, families can really just give them that peace of mind so that they can make better decisions in terms of most of the decisions we make is based off of money, right? Mm-hmm. Meaning that we choose the college we go to because of money. We choose which direction we're going to go in life. Like we talked about athletes and artists earlier, right? Well, a lot of them end up not even really living up to their full potential because they have to worry about how they're going to pay their bills. So when you're using aspects of like an annuity, you got to understand, forget the annuity itself. You got to look at, first and foremost, before you put your money any single place, you gotta establish what the financial goal is. If you have not established what the financial goal is, then no matter where you put it, you're probably gonna get lost in the sauce, essentially, right? Because you're gonna tap into it too early, or you're not gonna use it the right way, right? Or if you're tapping into it too early, what are you putting it into? You may not, reinvest it into the right place, or you may, and by tapping into it early, you hurt yourself, which a lot of people seem to not understand. Right. Excuse me. A lot of people typically put money away, and they get really impatient, especially when they start seeing those numbers go up. They get really impatient. They're like, "Oh, I like it. I want to touch it, right? I want it now." And that's one of the biggest mistakes that anybody can do. Put that money away, stay living like we talked about, live your normal lifestyle. It doesn't have to. It can be greater later, right? But you don't have to. I get it. Tomorrow's not promised, but at the same time, being realistic with your life, you got to make sure if you live, a lot of people are living longer these days, so they got to make sure they don't run out of money. So remember, when you think of an annuity, think about not outliving your money.
Okay. So who can join this business? Like who would we be looking for to join this type of business? Because there's a lot of money in it. Who can join this business?
Yeah, absolutely. So anybody who wants, I like to keep it just this simple, anybody who wants to get more out of life is a candidate, I would say, for the insurance industry. It changes a lot of lives. There's a lot of crazy testimonies where you got people living in their cars and living in 12,000 square foot houses. It's crazy, right? You go from living in a car to living in this mega mansion, all because of this amazing industry itself. You got young people like myself who are hungry at a younger age. I was 21, still trying to figure my life out. If you would have asked you asked me now if I would have seen myself doing what I'm doing now, I would have told you like, you're crazy. I don't even know why I would even be involved with anything that is considered to be insurance, because I don't want to think about dying. Right? You got people who are already established, who are other financial professionals like tax people. This is a great business to go into as well, to bring more credibility and not leave as much money on the table. Same thing with real estate professionals as well, mortgage professionals, and then down to the everyday person. Like I said, you don't need a college degree, you don't need 20 years, 30 years of financial services experience or anything like that. As long as you are affiliated and connected with a company that is aligned with your personal code and ethics and what your goals are as a person who wants to bring in additional income into your household. And so anybody though, at the bottom line though, the first question you got to ask yourself is, are you satisfied with where you're at in your life? Are you happy with where you're at in your life? And if the answer is yes, cool. But if the answer is no, then we got to start finding some answers to flip that to a yes. And one of the best ways to do that is going into an industry that's noble, going into an industry that of course is good for people first and foremost, going into an industry that will not cap you out, that has endless possibilities for you. And that's what I would say to anybody looking to come into this business.
Okay, so y'all, I'm gonna just let y'all know, share my story. So I started working with, I actually met Miss Wanda first, and she met me at an aviation event. It was in Compton, at Compton's Airfare event, and I had my merch and stuff like that. So we had a conversation, and she was very excited about the Black Money Matters Act Like It brand and whatnot. And so she's like, I want you to meet someone, and she was talking about Max, and so we set up a time to meet and just talk about ways we can add value to one another. So from that conversation, it led to us doing the Black Money Matters Forum event, which was my first actual live Black Money Matters Forum event, and I was super proud of that because I had been trying to work on that for like a year and a half.
Which was a great turnout.
Yeah, it was great. And so from there, I got to learn a little bit more about what you guys do, and being in the office and being in that culture, you kind of see the teamwork, you see everybody really supporting each other, holding each other down, and keeping each other accountable. And so as I'm going through that process and just learning, I'm like, okay, I'm in a position to where I need to increase my revenue in my business. Like having a clothing brand, there's seasons for it. Everything is not gonna just continue to go all year long. And so just kind of like in this position to where I'm trying to figure out how to increase this revenue. So I had started my coaching service in December of last year. And so I started doing that, and it was helping folks, but I just had to make a different pivot. There was a pivot that I needed to make, and I was just really vetting, companies to see which is the right one for me. And so, I think it was a couple weeks ago. When was it? A couple weeks ago, or a few months ago, where I was like, I think I'm just gonna join the team.
Yeah.
You were like, I'm surprised.
I was.
But it just made sense. I feel like our missions are definitely in alignment, from the next generation group to urban financial literacy. Like, we all just want to educate. And after that very first event, it just made sense. Like, we literally streamlined that whole thing, and it was just so informational, and people just got a lot of information out of it.
People implemented it though.
Yeah,
that was like the amazing aspect of it. Like, people actually post event followed up with you, followed up with me, and said, look, I need to do this. How do I get this done correctly?
Yeah, and that's the impact that we want to continue to make. And I feel like, I need a team. That was the biggest thing. I have been carrying this company for the last 3 years by myself. And I got volunteer help, but I can't really pay them, and that's their time,
right?
And I want to respect people's time. So it just made sense to make that shift and really offer a little bit more than what I was already offering. So I'm actually working on my license. I should be licensed probably within the next couple weeks, so I'm excited about that. And we just have a lot of events we're working on. September 16th, we have the Worthy of Wealth online conference with Angelique the artist, myself, and Max. We did a live this morning at 11:30 a.m. talking about that event. We have an event on September 14th that we're working on, a mixer, right? And it's going to be in Long Beach. It's going to be at an amazing spot called the Green Pines co-working, creative co-working and event space. So
look out for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Make sure y'all show up.
Definitely.
We're going to have some drinks. We're going to have a DJ.
Yep.
It's going to be fun. A lot of great information, a lot of connections too. So please come out, share what you do, connect with people. You know, we want to build up that environment. You know, so but tune in 1st September. We have our 16th event, right, and we have our mixer as well. So stay tuned to the platform to get that info too.
Yes. All right, so I'm gonna ask you like a couple more questions before we head out. So what advice do you have for aspiring young folks who are looking to build wealth?
Man, that's a loaded question. Like, I feel like we could be here for hours. But I know we're coming at the down stretch here. We need to speed it up on that. But my biggest advice to anybody wanting to build wealth would be to first understand why you want to build wealth. Don't just say I want to build wealth or I want to be a multimillionaire or whatever just because it sounds good or just because of the money aspect of it. But think about what your life would be like. Think about the quality of your life and how you would be able to impact people on a different level than what you can ever imagine. And so think about that first before you start to look for the vehicles to help you build the wealth, because the why and what we do is the most important key to everything.
That's good, because when you're thinking about that, you have to actually implement it. Like, you can't just say I want to build wealth and not implement a strategy. Right. And that's what a lot of people tend to do. It's like, I want to be rich, I want to be wealthy, and it's like, okay, so what's the plan? Exactly. Well, I'm going it's like, you gonna do what?
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Certainly.
Okay, so last question: how can listeners contact you if they want more information? They want to join a team. They want to, get into this industry. Where can they get that information?
Well, yes, absolutely. So you can contact me at The Next Generation Group on Instagram. You can DM us. You can of course reach out to Jessica directly as well, and also I'll put my personal cell phone contact information out there. My number is 323-578-0291. Right now, this is an interesting time in our business where we're into mega expansion mode. So I am able to kind of take on a few people and kind of train them and mentor them in the business. So if you are out there and you want to be able to achieve some goals, personally, you want a switch up in your life. I don't care what your age is. I just want you to care about people. Be ethical, of course. Put people first before you put the money. The money is going to follow. Please trust me on that, right? And you just gotta have a big heart, and you gotta have a seriousness about you, and a seriousness about why you want to do this business, or why you want more for yourself. So reach out to us. Jessica and I can definitely help you all get started and help you kind of understand a little bit more, about, even from a client perspective or from somebody who's looking to break into the industry and get licensed. Reach out to us and we'll definitely kind of help you kind of hold your hand, I should say, and walk you through each step of the way and get you guys going to achieving, the prosperity that you want to achieve.
Awesome. All right, y'all. So y'all heard it here. One thing I can say is you won't go in this alone. You have a team that is really going to support you and push you. So, if you want to join a team that's really here for you, go ahead and reach out to either of us and make the call and we'll answer. All right. So this has been the Out of the Box podcast, Out of the Box show. We had Money Talk with Maxmillion Barnes. All right, so thank you to those of you that have tuned in live. We enjoyed ourselves and we really hope that you did too. If you are on Instagram, give me a follow at JAI_GOT_SOUL. Also follow my business pages at Black Money Matters Act Like It on Instagram, as well as J God Soul Studio. There's no underscores in those, so it's all the way through. All right, so you can get more content and see what we have going on. Check out our website at jgotsoul.com. We have a lot of merch on there. We have our polos, we have our t-shirts. We just released our Nova Sky Gold Olive set. and so it's a hoodie, green hoodie with gold print, and the joggers as well. So y'all can check that out. A lot of people has been asking about it, so go on my website or reach out to me if you want to get more information and place an order. All right, so subscribe to my YouTube channel also at jgotsoul to watch us live. We will be live again on August 26th. You never know who we're going to have in the studio next, so be sure to tune in. So until next week, we are out. Peace.